Hey everybody, it's your brother Van Silk on rumble.com. Not in my house with Van Silk. That's right, in the flesh. Got on my blade glasses and everything. But listen, I want to talk about something. Go on rumble.com, look up the name Van Silk. I have a lot of topics that I discuss. But I want to talk about something today. Why are teachers quitting their jobs? A lot of it has nothing to do with salary. Nothing. Now, we ain't gonna talk about them teachers that sleep with the students. That's not the topic. Underage teachers, the teachers that sleep with underage students and having sex with them, sexual predators, male teachers sending young female students nude photos. Let's talk about why teachers are quitting. First of all, these students today are rude. They have no respect for the teachers. And all that comes from the parents. The home training that you give your kids. You don't teach your kids nothing. Let your kids be on the phone. They be on TikTok. They be on this. They be on that all day. And these kids have no understanding of education. They're dumb as shit. You know your own child is in the 8th grade with a 2nd grade reading level. We got a problem in America. Don't blame the government. Don't blame the society. You got to blame yourself as a parent. You got to lay the law. And Congress need to pass a law if students attack teachers. Because some of these students today are linebackers. Some of these child kids today are big as hell. 5th graders weighing 200 pounds. And they need to have another law. If you attack a teacher, it's a felony. Not only do you go to jail, your parents go to jail. Because teachers are with your kids minimum 8 hours a day. And they're not there to raise your kids. They're there to educate your kids. And when the kids come home, you need to check their homework and make sure they have work to do. You need to get them extra work. Take their phone away. Because all these kids do their homework by phone anyway or by their laptop. They're not learning shit. Nothing. But here, I want y'all to check out these videos that are coming up right here on why teachers are quitting and why kids can't read. This your brother Van Silk, not in my house. Check me out on rumble.com. Support, follow, leave your opinion. I'm out.
I'm going to just say this. I teach 7th grade. They are still performing on the 4th grade level.
7th grade English teacher here. I teach in northern Houston, and I teach at one of the more affluent schools. When I tell you that these babies cannot read, they cannot write, and they cannot comprehend, I'm not being funny. I'm being dead serious. It doesn't exist. I have kids constantly asking me, how do I spell window? How do I spell important? How do I spell though? And they be serious. They're dead serious. I could ask them, who is the main character of your story? The story of 4-paragraph story we just read. Can't tell you. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know. It took us 4 weeks to get through how to answer a question in a complete sentence.
I'm here at school because I got it.
I'm asking you, did your mother see you leave out the house like that? Because at this point, that's who I'm going to call. Your mother.
Call her. She's not going to answer.
Well, somebody going to have to come get you because you cannot be at school like this.
Why?
Because it's inappropriate.
What's inappropriate?
Everything you have on. No, everything you have on is inappropriate.
What we're all wearing is inappropriate.
Everything you have on is inappropriate.
It's a hot mess.
Clothes on. I got top and bottom.
Top and bottom. You thought you was going to come to school.
I thought I was going to come to
your
school
mother
and learn a lesson in my top and my bottom, and then let's learn a lesson.
No, you ain't going to learn a lesson. In my class, the lesson is to put clothes on in the morning when you come into school. That's your lesson.
Am I still going to be doing my presentation? Because this is easy.
Yeah, after I get her up and out my class, we will go ahead and finish what we're doing.
I came into school with my bag with everything ready to learn. I sat down front and center, ready to learn, and then you made a moment out of me. You disrupted the class.
You caused the scene in my class. Y'all all came here to learn, correct?
Yes.
And I'm here to learn
would your
too.
mother let you walk out the house with something like this on?
No.
I don't care what she's wearing. I just want to do my presentation.
I just want to
And now I'm running out of time to do it. Like, can I just do the presentation?
You can't do your
Can you
presentation.
just put on
until
like
then.
gym clothes so we can get on with this? Like, just put on some gym clothes or something.
I don't have this close.
Yeah, I can give you my hood. Would that help?
I am a first-year high school English teacher. This is definitely going to be my first and last year teaching. I was made very quickly aware of the fact that this is not the profession for me. It is absolutely astonishing and scary how your kids are 14, 15 years old and still do not have the proper reading skills. And I'm not talking about the ESC kids, the 504s, the IEP kids. I'm talking about your everyday regular Joe Schmo from Kokomo kid who does not know how to read and write at the level that they should. And the problem is that they don't care to learn how to do those things correctly. I can't teach the class because your kid wants to be a disruption, because your kid wants to be on their phone, because your kid does not give a flying about their education. The problem really, yes, the problem is your kid. The problem is also you as a parent, but the problem is also the administration who continuously makes these stupid excuses for these kids' bad behavior. Why in the world are you still talking about COVID? Every time these kids act up, it's always, well, they spent 2 years in COVID. So did everybody else. That was 2 years ago. At what point are we gonna stop blaming COVID for these kids' bad behavior? At what point are we gonna stop making these excuses for these kids? They are the problem. When you are stopping your teacher from being able to teach the entire class because you don't wanna follow directions, that is a you problem. And the thing is, the teacher will always get blamed. Every single time. It's always the teacher's fault. The teacher can't manage their classroom well. The teacher doesn't have the patience. The teacher this, the teacher that. When are you gonna start holding your kids accountable for their bad behavior? This is why all these teachers are leaving, because they're tired of getting blamed for your kids' wrongdoing, for your lacking as a parent, for your lacking as an administration. My job as a teacher, it should just be to teach my curriculum. My job as a teacher should not be to be the therapist, to be the nurse, to be the parent, I don't get paid enough for that. Like when teachers talk about the problem with pay, that's what they're talking about, because you're requiring all of us to do all the work of like 4 different careers, but only paying us for 1. The districts are all afraid of the parents complaining. The administration is afraid of the parents complaining. The parents are afraid of the kids who don't want to do their job. And who's left to pick up the pieces? The educators, the teachers. Because if these kids fail, y'all are gonna make it seem like, well, the teacher wasn't doing their job. It's the teacher's fault. No, it's your kid who came to my class, sat there, twiddled on his phone. She wanted to sit here and talk to this girl, do everything but what they're supposed to be asked. And I cannot get them to do their work because they don't care. And they know you're gonna make excuses for them. And that's why they continue to do the same things that they do. When these kids get sent to ISS, for whatever the case may be, you know what happens? Nothing. They just sit there on their phone or sit there on their laptop and do nothing. It's essentially free time for them. What are they learning from that? Sure, they might miss out on an assignment, but then here their parents come talking about, what can my child do to make up their grades? How about stop getting suspended? How about when I'm teaching a lesson, close your mouth? How about when I tell you to do something, instead of rolling your eyes and having a nasty attitude about it, you just do it? Put the discipline back into the schools. I'm not saying bring back the paddle, bring back the actual disciplinary actions, because these kids are not learning a thing.
Do you honestly believe that these teachers are quitting their job 2 weeks into the school year because they're not getting paid enough, or because the politics that they're dealing with from outside of the classroom is too much to handle? No, that's not the reason. The reason why they're quitting is because these kids are mean, and they're making the classroom a war zone, and they're getting zero support from parents at home and from admin on their campus. This 100% stems from the stuff that they have to deal with day in and day out from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. inside their classroom. It's the stuff that you have to deal with inside your classroom that makes you burn out and makes you never want to come back. I understand that so many of our kids are dealing with rough lives at home and are dealing with trauma, dealing with mental illness, dealing with learning disabilities. All of those things make it difficult to thrive in school, and I understand that. But the problem is that all of those things are no reason to treat other human beings like a piece of garbage. Regardless of your opinion of teachers, most teachers that I know wake up every single day excited to teach whatever lesson that they've spent hours planning and creating, and they want to have a meaningful experience with the students in their classroom. They want to have a good day. And I know, speaking for myself, I woke up every day praying that it was going to be a good day, praying that the kids that I had that day were going to be as excited about the content that I was ready to present as much as I was. And most days, that is not what I got met with. On the daily, teachers are getting cussed out, spit on, hit, flipped off. Their equipment is getting broken and stolen. There are bullies in class that are relentless, not just to their own fellow students, but to the adult in the room. Imagine if you had to deal with that at your job. I'm speaking to non-teachers right now, right? You would not put up with that. You would stay somewhere where you were treated with respect and you knew that you were safe in your work environment. If someone came every single day to your job, bullied you, hit you, cussed you out, rolled their eyes at you, treated you like you were nothing, like you were garbage, you wouldn't want to come back either. You would put in your 2 weeks notice. But for some reason, so many people believe that we signed up for that. Because that's a part of teaching, and that's just how kids are. I made the decision not to return to the classroom this year, and I haven't been in a classroom for months now, and I still have nightmares, trauma nightmares on a weekly basis about my former classroom and my former students. And yes, it is a parent and an admin problem just as much as it is a kid problem. Because the difference between now and 20 years ago even is that 20 years ago, when you would have a kid cuss you out, hit you, smack other kids, ruin your property, steal things off of your desk, there was going to be somebody on campus that was going to back you up and find a solution. But now that's not the case. Suspensions are down because they want those numbers down. They want to look good. They're not suspending kids for getting in fights and being violent in the classroom anymore. It's just not happening. Even in the early 2000s and 2010s, when I started my career, I was assured that if I called a parent to tell them about what was going on in my classroom with their child, they were most definitely going to say, "I am so sorry, do what you need to do. I'll talk to them when they get home." Right? That doesn't happen anymore either. It is a parent problem because we're getting met with the same attitudes that we see in the classroom that we're seeing at home from parents. A doctor or a nurse, somebody comes up to your nurse's station and starts yelling and screaming, throwing things, cussing you out, calling you names. What do? You get to call security and call a code violet. As teachers, we can't do that anymore. We try, but then the kid gets sent out of the class, they are given a snack, and then 5 minutes later, they're back in the classroom ready to terrorize somebody else. There's always going to be only one adult in the room and 30 kids. And as soon as we put our attention on the one kid who's causing the disturbance and the violence in the class, then everyone is going to turn to us and say, well, why aren't you looking after the other kids? Why aren't you doing your job in teaching these kids? What happens when somebody else starts doing something they're not supposed to do? It's a lose-lose situation. So who wants to deal with that at work? Of course, these young teachers who are just now stepping into the profession are done with it after 2 or 3 weeks. They realize that they don't have to deal with that behavior. They don't have to deal with that disrespect. And there's another way that they can make their money. Let me just speak about Houston ISD for a second, because that's where I came from and that's what I advocate for, because I still care very deeply about that school district. Teachers at Houston ISD are not quitting their jobs right now because of the crap they're having to deal with from their superintendent and the fact that libraries are being stripped away from campuses that desperately need them. Again, I would say that most of the teachers that are dealing with those issues are strongly urged from within to stay in those positions, to advocate for change in that situation. Those are not the reasons that they're quitting. It's the kids and the behavior that they are dealing with, because they are not scared of consequences anymore. In fact, if something happens in the classroom, a group of kids is more likely to pull out their phone and start recording it and laughing instead of helping the situation. I know the last thing most people want to hear is a teacher saying that kids are the problem, but what else are we supposed to do? How else are we supposed to tackle this situation? Behavior issues are at an all-time high right now, and nobody wants to admit it, because then that's saying that, oh, those poor little darlings, you know, they're suffering out there in a world that's chaos. What are they supposed to do? You know, you're supposed to love them through it. We are asked to deal with so much abuse on a daily basis. And because they are children, somehow it's okay. And for those of you that don't have to deal with the behaviors that I'm talking about, you are lucky, because that means that you have admin on your campus that not only support you, but also have systems in place to tackle this sort of stuff.
What was the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
Two things. One is a student told me he was going to follow me home, kill me, and rape my wife. And then other than that, I was told that he was going to get this white MF and N word to hit him.
Ooh. What is the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
You ugly. No, that ain't worse. A student said that they was going to punch me in my face.
Okay. What is the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
I can't.
Can't what?
Anything.
Oh.
Because they can't.
Right. What is the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
That's Mr. Jones. Did you cut your own hair?
What's the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
Mr. Evans, you fat and you get on my nerves.
Miss Neal, what is the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
The worst thing a student has ever said to me is, I really care about my grade, and then they go back on their phone and don't do their work. Because the lie, it's the lie!
What is the worst thing a student has ever said to you?
Hey, Miss Beverly, how you doing? And never came to class.